The sun scorched the dusty little town on the edge of the Texas prairie. The market square buzzed like a restless hive. Merchants shouted about their goods, farmers bargained over cattle, children ran barefoot through the dust. But the loudest crowd had gathered in one corner, where a rough wooden stage had been set up. There, an auction was taking place, not for land or horses, but for men. Cowboys who had lost everything in debts, men stripped of their pride, now sold as workers to whoever paid enough to cover their obligations. For some it was survival, for others a mark of shame. Among the onlookers stood a young woman, her figure delicate yet tired. Her name was Anna. She was only in her 20s, yet grief had aged her face. Her belly, round beneath her dress, showed she would soon become a mother. She was a widow. Her husband had died during the harsh winter, leaving her alone with nothing but a small cabin on the outskirts of town. Anna was not there for adventure. She was desperate. Without help, she could not survive the season. The roof leaked, the fields were overgrown, and the child within her demanded more strength than she had left. The auctioneer raised his voice. Next up, Jack Caldwell, once a ranch hand at Black River Ranch. Strong, skilled, stubborn. Who will take him? From the shadows, a tall man stepped forward. His shoulders were broad, his face darkened by sun and hardship, but his eyes, cast downward, looked haunted. His hands shook faintly, though he stood as if carved from stone. Whispers rippled through the crowd. That's the one who lost everything. They say tragedy follows him. A cursed man. Anna's gaze met his, if only for a moment. And something stirred in her heart. She saw no cruelty there, no arrogance, only pain. And pain, she thought, meant a heart still alive. Before she could question herself, she lifted her hand and offered a price. The crowd gasped. Nobody challenged her bid. The pregnant widow bought herself a cowboy. They murmured. Anna ignored them. She knew only one thing. This man was her last chance. They walked the dusty road home in silence. Jack's steps were heavy, his face expressionless. Finally, he asked quietly, "Why me? Why did you choose me?" Anna hesitated, then said, "Because when I looked at your eyes, I saw sorrow, but not anger." "That means you haven't lost your soul." He stopped for a moment, as if her words struck deep. For the first time he looked at her, not at her belly, not at her frail figure, but into her eyes. He held her gaze longer than expected, then dropped his eyes again without replying. Her home was small. 2 rooms, a barn that sagged, fields drowning in weeds. Jack went straight to work. He patched fences, cleared debris, brushed the horses. He worked with silent intensity, as though the tasks were the only thing tethering him to the earth. But Anna noticed the heaviness inside him. At night she sometimes heard him cry out in his sleep, waking drenched in sweat. By day, she found him staring at the horizon for long minutes, as if searching for something forever gone. One evening over dinner, Anna broke the silence. "You don't have to stay. If you want to leave, I won't hold you here." Jack gave a bitter half-smile. "Leave? And where would I go? I've lost everything. But, if you and your child need me, then I'll stay." The words touched her deeper than she expected. He wasn't just a worker. He was a man carrying wounds of his own, needing a place as much as she did. Days passed, and they fell into rhythm together. Whenever she tried to carry heavy water buckets, he took them from her hands. When she sat down breathless, he found shade for her. Slowly, wordlessly, a bond formed. It wasn't yet love, but it was a lifeline. One evening, the sun blazed red as it slipped below the horizon. Anna asked quietly, "Jack, what is it you seek in this life?" He stood silent for a long time, then said, "Peace, the kind I've never known. And maybe, a place where someone is waiting for me." Her heart skipped a beat. She knew then. He prayed too, though not with words. Second part. One night, Anna woke to a faint sound. She stepped outside and found Jack sitting on the porch, shoulders slumped, a half-empty whiskey bottle beside him. Moonlight traced his features, and she saw the glimmer of tears in his eyes. "Jack, what's wrong?" she asked softly. He shook his head, but then whispered hoarsely, "Once, I loved a woman. I promised her a home, a future. But enemies burned our ranch. She died in the fire. I've carried her death on my shoulders ever since. I thought I could never love again." Anna lowered herself beside him and gently laid her hand over his. "We all lose someone. I lost my husband. You lost the woman you loved. But maybe, sometimes God sends us a second chance." He looked at her then, truly looked, his gaze lingering on her swollen belly and then back into her eyes. And in that moment, a flicker of hope passed across his face. He said nothing more, but when he slept that night, no nightmares tore him awake. Weeks rolled by. The ranch revived under their hands. Neighbors began to whisper, "The widow is blooming again, thanks to that cowboy." Anna and Jack said nothing to each other of what grew between them, but the silence between them was tender, heavy with unspoken words. Then came the storm. Thunder split the sky, rain lashed against the windows, and Anna doubled over in pain. The child was coming. Jack rushed to her side, helped her to bed, boiled water, held her hand through every scream. "You're strong, Anna. You can do this. Breathe. I'm here." The hours dragged, agonizing and endless. Finally, a sharp cry pierced the storm. Anna wept as she cradled her newborn. Jack stood over them, his chest heaving, his face breaking into a smile that was more like a prayer answered than joy. He dropped to his knees beside her. "Anna, I came here broken, a man with no future. You gave me work, a roof, but more than that, you gave me back my heart. Let me stay, not as a hired hand, but as your husband. Let me be father to this child." Tears slid down her cheeks. "Jack, this is exactly the love I prayed for." She reached for his hand, and he clasped it. Lightning flared across the sky, as though heaven itself blessed their union. The cowboy who had once been nothing but a weary debtor had become the answer to a widow's prayers. And the widow who thought her life was over found, in his arms, the beginning of a new one. Together, they were no longer broken souls, they were a family.